You can screw around till you're 50. You can still have a family. You got time. And you can sit down and do nothing if you want. You can do it. So, but you shouldn't, because it's horrible to do that. And people who do it know it. Like it's meaningless. It's a funny thing about meaninglessness. There's no such thing. When people say their lives are meaningless, that isn't what they mean. They mean I'm in pain and anxious all the time. That's what they mean. Those are meanings, man. You don't get neutral. You know, I'm just sitting around, I'm not feeling anything. It's like, no,
right, no one did.
Sorry, that doesn't happen.
Right. So when you say do nothing, that your life is meaningless if you're doing nothing. What do you mean by doing nothing?
Well, by not accepting any responsibility, by not lifting a great load, by not acting out the archetype of the hero. That's what people are. That's what men are. If they're anything. They're mythological heroes, if they're anything.
Through some path, whatever it be.
There's lots of paths. I mean, so look, there's an old medieval idea. This is the idea of the imitation of Christ. This is something that Jung elaborates on a lot. He believed, this is one of the things that he said, was that the proper goal of a Christian, roughly speaking, is to enact the meta pattern of Christ's life in their own, to make it their own story. And so what did he mean by that? Well, part of it is, see, one of the things that characterizes the mythological figure of Christ, let's say, is that he takes on the burden of mortality voluntarily. He accepts it as a precondition of existence. And we have to do that because otherwise we get resentful. Like, life is hard, make no mistake about it. People's lives are tragic. You know, if you pick a random person off the street and you ask them about their life, man, usually there's things that have happened there. You know, they just beggar the imagination. It's no wonder people are angry and resentful and bitter. But the way out of that is to accept it, to accept your mortality, and that helps you transcend it. That's partly what the crucifix symbol means, because it was accepted voluntarily. You have to accept your death voluntarily. That's part of the path of the hero. It's a very difficult thing to do, obviously. What's your alternative?
Yeah, obviously. You know, I think people are constantly searching for that thing that you just described, the thing of meaning, you know, having meaning in this life. And that meaning has a different definition for everybody. I mean, everybody's meaning is different. I mean, your meaning might be very different than mine or Jamie's. I mean, you kind of have to have your own path. And I think that's also one of the reasons why people are so confused, is because you're thrust into an early age into a very rigid system of education, and then of jobs, and then of career structure, where you're in this place, and most people don't feel like that's what they're supposed to be doing. And we feel very alienated by the very structure of society that we are embedded in.
Of course. You want a meaning that justifies the suffering. It's something like that. That's a transcendent meaning. It's like, this is hard, but it's worth it. Okay, so what do? Pick something worth it, right? That's partly what I try to get people to do with that future authoring program. So say, okay, look, here's a place to start. You got your miserable self right now. It's like 3 to 5 years out. Imagine what your life could be like if you had what you would give yourself if you were taking care of yourself. What would life be like? Just come up with an idea even about that. And so then people do that. And then they write out a plan to attain it. And then the college kids are like 30% more likely to stay in university if they do that, especially if they're men. Because men need a purpose. I think women have a purpose. Now they have 2 purposes. You know, they're going to have a family. That's a major purpose, man. Like, just to give birth. That's no joke. And then you're devoted to something for like 20 years. You got your adventure right there. Yeah,
but a lot of women find great offense in someone saying that, especially a man saying that, mansplaining that a woman's purpose is to breed, right? I mean, isn't that a giant issue that a lot of women have?
Well, I didn't say that was the only purpose.
I know that you didn't.
Oh, yeah, people have an issue with it, but it's like, grow up. You know, if you're a sophisticated person, as far as I'm concerned, how many important things are there in life? Well, one of them's family. Like, it's as simple as that. Now, you might say, well, family isn't the end-all solution. It's like, yeah, well, thanks for pointing that out, you know. I've dealt with plenty of pathological families. But it's a huge part of life. You have a mother and a father, you have children. It places you in the world. And any society that... Look, there's a reason societies worship the Virgin Mother and the child. It's because societies that don't die. And so people say, well, you know, that relationship between mother and child isn't the only thing. Okay, fine. It's still a sacred thing. And you miss it. You miss it. If you're female, you miss that at your peril. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't women who shouldn't miss it, because maybe they have another purpose that transcends that. But that's rare. It's very, very rare. And I would caution any women listening, if they're young, not to be deluded into the idea that their career will be of such high quality that it self-evidently trumps having a family. You have to have a hell of a career before that's the case.